Hey everybody, good evening. My name is Officer Jamie Keneally. Thanks once again for stopping by the great little show we like to call the Cops. Tonight, as always, big show in store. And if you've been watching the show, I think you know we've been talking about, or talked a lot about, take a look at the video too, the story of police officer Andrew Cuneo. Andrew Cuneo, it's a pretty impressive story, the first Italian-born police officer, and tragically, sadly, not only the first Italian-born police officer in the Boston Police Department, but the first Italian-born police officer to be killed in the line of duty. Tonight, Bobby Anthony is here to talk about Andrew's story and all the work that went up to and the planning that went into this day, the memorial and remembrance of Andrew Cuneo, which took place earlier, and it was a heck of an occasion.
Because honoring an Italian-American who was making his duty here in the United States, it means honoring all the Italian-American community, their hard work, their resilience, and their achievements. That's why it was very important for me to be here.
And as this has unfolded, and his story and all the research that Officer Anthony did, it was just remarkable how clearly my dad remembered him, and remembered him so well.
We wear the same cloth that he does. We walk in the same boots that he did. We walk the same beat that he did. You know, to recognize our first, whether it's the first Latino or whether it's the first Irish officer, but these officers were killed in the line of duty. We have to remember our officers that sacrificed their lives in order to fulfill our end of the bargain. Our end of the bargain is we have to remember them so that future generations will remember our history. In the nation's oldest police department, and we have to make sure that everybody remembers what they gave in order to get us to where we are today.
Fine gentlemen, Bobby Anthony in studio tonight again. Bobby Anthony in studio to talk about the ceremony which was dedicated to Andrew Cuneo. Okay. Last week, if you saw the show, you know that we had Elvis Garcia in the house. Elvis, of course, a police officer assigned to District E5. We talked about Halloween, we talked about safety tips, and we talked about the District E5 Halloween party, which has been going on for the past 8 years, and I am pleased to report that this year's party, and how about that for a great costume? I think that's had to be one of my favorites, but pleased to report that this year's party was as successful, if not more so, than parties from years past. I want to thank, send a shout out to Elvis, thank all the officers from District E5, but not only just District E5, but police officers around the city who put a lot of time and a lot of effort into these parties. They're not easy to plan, folks, and again, the officers who put these together deserve a ton of credit because they did a great job again this year. So kudos to them. Oh, by the way, that was my little guy trick-or-treating at my house. Keegan James making his appearance on Call the Cops. All right, on a more serious note, take a look at this sketch, folks. This individual is wanted in connection with 2 separate sexual assaults. So please study it if you can, and if this face looks at all in any shape or form familiar to you, please, folks, we ask you, pick up the phone, call us, call police. Again, this individual here, it's a sketch of an individual wanted in connection with 2 sexual assaults. Clearly, he is dangerous. He's described as a Hispanic male in his 20s, and make no mistake, we want this guy in custody. So for more information on how to help us catch him, go to bpdnews.com or call 1-800-494-TIPS or text a tip to crime. So how about this? In answer to the question, what can you do to protect yourself in the event you find yourself in the midst of an attack, a sexual assault? We've told you about the RAD program before, and hey, this is what you can do. You know, God forbid, if you find yourself under attack, you can fight back. Plain and simple, you can fight back. The program you see on your screen there, again, is the RAD program. RAD stands for Rape Aggression Defense System. And here's the good part. It's a free program, everybody. It's free. Doesn't cost you a dime. It's offered by the Boston Police Department and designed specifically for women. So if you want some information about the program, you got questions about the program, you're looking to sign up for the program, feedback has been great. Check out bpdnews.com for more information about the RAD program. Okay, how about this? Looking for a reason to wear a seatbelt? Get a load of these pictures. You probably heard the story, but in the event you missed it, This car belongs to Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray. Yeah, this is his car. In case you missed it, he was involved in a terrible rollover car accident about a week ago. Lucky to walk away from this accident, and the only reason he did walk away from this wreck, he'd be the first to tell you, seatbelt. Again, folks, looking for a reason to wear a seatbelt. Of course, you know, I know, we all know it's the law. But think of Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray, who said, when asked the question, you know, how were you able to walk away from this? He said, come on, folks, it ain't rocket science. I have my seatbelt on, and for that reason, and that reason alone, I was able to walk out of that wreck. So again, seatbelts. Yeah, you think they're important? You think Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray thinks they're important? I think he would agree with that statement. All right, basketball now. And you got to love it when the cops and the kids get together on the hardwood, because the kids are usually 20 years younger, you know, a ton faster, quicker, the whole nine. But Bobby Griffin making it look easy with the ball in the bucket early. I think Griff had 10 points in the game. This game went to double overtime. And, yeah, we lost, but not despite a valiant effort. Deputy Superintendent Greeley with the lucky roll. I think he had 2 points. Yeah, those were them. As for your leading scorer, where's Bruce Higgins? Where's Mr. Higgins? I know he's there someplace. There he is. Nice catch in the hoop. He had 26. BPD loses 76-74 in double overtime, but it was more about the score.
To play a good pickup game against the police, the Boston Police Department, different units. And we just want the kids to basically trust in the cops and know that they're not the bad guys, that it's okay to talk, hang, and relate to them any which way possible.
I wanted to get kids in the inner city working with cops, you know, on a different basis and on the streets, just to play a little game of basketball, get to know one another. So they see us as them, as we're kids at heart, and want to play a little ball together.
It's good. I mean, a lot of the guys still live in the city, and it's important to them. They're residents of the city, and they enjoy it. They're all competitive, and they're all athletes, and most of the guys have kids out there, so they enjoy being around kids, and it's just a positive for both the kids and the police officers.
Good. Coming out of that game. And, again, great game. 76-74 double overtime. Wow. All right, Operation North Star. High five to Michelle Maffeo, Officer Michelle Maffeo, seen there. Michelle and Deputy Nora Baston recently stopped by the Elks in West Roxbury to educate folks about the program. Again, Operation North Star. It's a program designed to help us track down and find individuals suffering from either Alzheimer's or children with autism. And again, it's folks who are dealing with conditions and have a tendency, if you will, to wander. So Michelle and Nora spent the day collecting information, as you can see there, and snapping photos. And the information they collected, obviously information it's going to help us find your loved ones, locate your loved ones in the event they go missing or wander off. It's a great program. We cut up to Michelle after.
Going to community meetings or just interacting on the street. People are, you know, it's long overdue.
You know, we had a great response from the parents, and we were out here today. We were getting all the appropriate information that we would need if they wandered off. We got digital photos as well, and we had a good overall turnout for day one.
Again, BPD News, folks, for more information about Operation North Star. And again, that was Michelle and Deputy Baston. All right. What are you looking at now? You're seeing, we're showing you video from a heck of a memorial dedication, if you will, to police officer Andrew Cuneo, the first Italian-born police officer in the history of the Boston Police Department. Joined the department way back in 1906. Tragically shot and killed in the line of duty 1921. The ceremony you see here was special and important for so many reasons. It's about remembering one of our own and remembering an individual who made that ultimate sacrifice, putting his life before those he was sworn to protect. And Andrew Cuneo did that for sure some 80 years ago. This ceremony happened because of, well, this guy you see right there, I believe that's tonight's guest, addressing the capacity crowd. But without any further ado, it is my privilege to introduce tonight's guest, Police Officer Bobby Anthony, sans minus the mustache. We'll talk about the mustache later, buddy. Great job, first things first. And just, Dave, when you get a chance, just roll the video again. But when you see the video, what are your thoughts as you look back on a day that you had a lot to do with in putting it together?
Well, I think it's a very historical moment in the police department's history that we're able to put these dedications together with the permission of the mayor and the commissioner and, you know, the superior officers, the Patrolmen's Association, to get this on board and remember our last, you know, our fallen heroes.
Whose idea is it to do this? Well, I mean, I know you've been at it for the last couple of years in your position as the department chronologist. Clearly, it's important to do. Whose idea? Who just said, you know what, we need to make sure we remember those who made that ultimate sacrifice?
It's a joint venture with this. It's a bunch of individuals, the mayor, the commissioner, you know, Margaret Sullivan, myself, Deputy McCormick, Deputy Gross. We get together and we throw things around and see what comes up. And it's not necessarily that, you know, when you're talking about a line of duty death, it's an historical event for the department because you can't forget your own. You know, the old saying is only fools would forget an expensive lesson such as that.
Yep. We need to remember that, no question, those in uniform, to understand. I couldn't agree more with the sacrifices made by officers who come before us and the dangerousness of this profession as well. Why does the general public need to be reminded of the sacrifices of an officer like Andrew?
Well, the sacrifices, I mean, you look at this individual, he came on board in 1906. He came from Genoa, Italy. He stepped into the shoes, and in those days, it was very hard to get into the ranks of a Boston police officer. We think that it's very important that the public remembers this because, you know, this is our history. We're the nation's first police department. You know, established in 1854, our roots go back to the 1631 with the watch and ward. We have to make sure that the history's out there because people forget things. You know, you have to put a name. When we did this memorial here, we put on Andrew Cuneo's face onto that plaque so that you can have a name to the name. Yeah. You know, a face to the name, I should say.
The location, too. Location of this memorial couldn't be better. Paul Revere Mall, North End, and I think you said it's going to be, it's on the Freedom Trail, right?
It is. It is right on the Freedom Trail.
So visitors to our fine city will have a chance to stop, take a look at the plaque, and realize, wow, the first Italian-born police officer killed in the line of duty is this young man, Andrew Cuneo.
Absolutely.
How'd that location come to be?
Well, we went down and we scouted out a few locations. Captain Mancini from East Boston, who was instrumental in this also, myself and Deputy McCormick and Deputy Gross, we went down and we looked at a few locations in the North End to try to figure where this would best be suited. I mean, Andrew got killed on Hanover Street, and it's hard to put a memorial on Hanover Street due to the traffic, the foot traffic. And so we started looking around, and we went down to the Prado, which is what the location is actually called, at the Paul Revere Mall, and we decided that we would talk to the Parks Department. We went in front of the Parks Department at a commission's meeting, and it got approved by their full commission. And they allowed us to put this plaque onto the wall, which is, like I said, it's a very historical park.
Yeah, it's great. The location couldn't be better. The ceremony itself, though, the day it happened, I imagine the feedback was nothing but positive. But what kind of things were people saying to you on that day?
Oh, they couldn't believe how many people came out for this.
Yeah.
You know, we had young, we had old, we had middle age, we had everybody there. Everybody got involved in this. The Italian General Counsel, he came out. We had the Italian American Police Association.
Giuseppe.
And we had the Italian American Police Association come out. And after that event, actually the Italian American Police Association had approached me, and they're going to be presenting to the family the Medal of Valor, the Italian American Police Association Medal of Valor, and that will be in May of next year.
Awesome. And Giuseppe, we had a soundbite from Giuseppe earlier in the show, and he's the Italian Consul?
Italian Consul General.
Okay, and so how big a deal was it for him to be involved? I imagine that's, I mean, obviously a very nice touch, but I mean, when you approached him from the outset, was he like, oh, absolutely, of course I want to be involved with this?
Well, when I approached him right off the bat, he was on board, 100%. He definitely wanted to be part of this. He wanted to be, as a matter of fact, he made arrangements for Italian police officers to come over, which they actually did come over a few days later. The Carabinieri did come over.
I saw a couple of them, yeah.
And they made a presentation to the commissioner in Andrew's name.
In addition to Giuseppe, and actually when you can see in the unveiling of the plaque, that's Barbara O'Connell to the right of your screen.
Correct.
And that's Andrew's granddaughter.
That's correct.
And I mean, obviously when you start out in this process, you notify the family.
Right.
What was the reaction of the family when you said, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put up a plaque to remember, in remembrance of your, in her case, grandfather?
Well, in something like this, we want to notify the family so we get the family involved and get a little bit more of historical facts that may have not come to light after we did the preliminary investigation by pulling the newspaper clippings and the police reports and actually Officer Cuneo's personnel file. We were able to contact Barbara Cuneo, who just happened, when I put this information out there, I got contacted by Barbara Cuneo's daughter, who had contacted me and said that her mother was very much interested in this, and she gave me the information. And I contacted Barbara and spoke to her, and she was ecstatic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who wouldn't be?
Right.
I mean,
she was ecstatic
really.
the day of. I got a chance to talk to her, and there was no question she was completely just. You couldn't have been happier with the day itself.
Absolutely.
So, what kind of did she provide information that you hadn't had otherwise?
Well, what she gave me was she gave me an outstanding photo of Andrew Cuneo.
Yeah.
And I mean, the photo itself we utilized on our invitations.
Okay.
And along with the badge that he wore that day.
And I'm going to actually, if we can get a shot of this photo, I'm going to hold it like so. But it's also the photo that appears on the plaque itself.
Right.
And so she provided this photo for you.
Right. She actually did. She provided the photo, which I do have a copy in my office.
Well, take a look. We got it right there on the screen. This is the invitation that went out?
That's correct.
I mean, that just, there's so much. Look at that photo, though.
I mean, actually, if you wanted to see, the photo is, it was like, the design of the photo was a painting that was, this photo was taken and someone had it painted, and they took a picture of it, and she gave us a copy of it, which she had. And we were able to use that in our graphics department, which is...
When you look at the photo, I mean, obviously, he's pulled out of the pages of the early 1900s.
That's correct.
But the jacket, the badge, what jumps out at you in terms of historical stuff?
The historical stuff that you see is you see that belt buckle that he's wearing.
Yep.
That's got the city seal on it.
Okay.
The badge itself is what they call a radiator badge,
Yep.
which was worn, they stopped wearing them up until 1921.
Okay.
The reefer, the jacket that he's wearing, that comes into what they call a V shape. It starts out and goes down into a V.
Yeah.
With the tunic up top, where they wore a white shirt underneath that would stick out. That's very historical. I mean, I wish the department would go back to some type of thing like that.
I love that look. That's a great, sharp look. So what else did Barbara, I mean, then you asked her to say a few words at the ceremony.
Right, I mean,
and
she was unbelievable. I mean, she spoke without reading anything. She spoke from the heart.
Oh, right from the heart, yeah.
And I thought that was outstanding.
Did she remember her grandfather? Because he was killed in the line of duty in 1919, right?
Right.
Because she didn't seem like a very old lady.
No, she didn't actually remember too much about him. She remembered what her father had told her.
Okay, so stories that were passed
the stories
along.
of what her father had passed on to her. And, we had some other relatives that came out from Iowa that flew out, actually drove out here. That were Winnie Rounds, who's also one of Andrew's granddaughters, also came out.
Take us back to the day, though, August of 1921. I mean, this officer, hero, like you read about.
Right.
What happened that tragic day?
That day, unfortunately, you would hate to say it, but a former Boston police officer who had fired in 1918, he got fired for failure to turn his call boxes, performance of duty. He got terminated, and he was very spiteful and revengeful. He had on his mind that he wanted to go steal a weapon, which he went into one of the pawn shops on Hanover Street. And he went in and he actually wanted to see a pistol, and the person that owned the store, Mr. Bloom, had passed him a pistol. He looked at the pistol and he reached into his pockets and removed some cartridges and loaded the cartridges into the weapon.
So he knew exactly what he was looking for when he entered the pawn shop.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And he walked out of the store, and Mr. Bloom had chased him out of the store and asked him, you know, you have to pay for this weapon.
Yeah.
He says, I'll pay for it later, I'll pay for it later. And he started walking out. So at that time, Mr. Bloom had spoken to an individual, it was Mr. Silva, and told him to go notify the police. And the station was just right across from the location.
Yep.
And the individual ran inside, and he notified the duty supervisor at the time at the front desk. And the duty supervisor
Dispatches Cuneo.
was getting ready to see. And Andrew
Yep.
Cuneo, who happened to be in the guard room at the time, says, I'll go out and investigate it.
Okay.
And he walked out, and he started walking towards the suspect. He saw the suspect with the weapon drawn out on the side. And at that time, the suspect started running towards him.
No kidding.
So Andrew tackled him, was able to get him down on the ground. The weapon came loose, but the suspect was able to get the weapon, and he fired 2 rounds into Officer Cuneo and mortally killing him.
Wow. I didn't know the part that the suspect in this case was a former police officer.
Yes, he was. He was a former police officer. Unfortunately, and even during the confession that was taken, the captain took the confession. We had a copy of the confession. When we were reading into that, we found out that the suspect had stated that his intention was he was very bitter towards the city. He was very bitter towards the state because he was a veteran of the military.
He let go?
Right.
Laid off?
He was laid off or fired.
Right.
And
fired.
What he did was, his intention was, he was on his way up to the State House to kill some of them.
Well, he was quoted as saying, I was on my way up to the State House to kill some of them.
Kill some of them,
So no question on that day, Andrew Cuneo saved some serious lives.
Absolutely. There would have been a massacre.
A couple minutes to go. He left behind, I mean, this is tragic. He leaves behind 9 kids.
Correct.
And who looks out for the kids? I mean, I think it was brought up at the ceremony that the Italian community or the greater community came together to try to...
The Italian community came together, and also, believe it or not, the Boston Police Relief Association was been around since 1871.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, their ball will be on December 4th of this year for the 140th anniversary.
Wow.
They were able to get together and raise some funds. So in that time and days, they raised over $6,000 in funds. They had some dances and some other things the Italian community pulled together, and they were able to raise some substantial amount of money to help Ms. Cuneo so that she could be, the police, they wanted to pay tribute to Andrew, and they were doing it. It was the largest funeral in the history of Boston at the time, too. There was 3 cars or carriages, flower carriages.
Flowers. All right, before we say goodnight, who do we thank? Who do you thank? Because you don't do this. I mean, it takes a number of people to bring this together, and the ceremony was great. It made me proud to be a Boston police officer. But anybody you want to thank quickly before we say?
Well, we do have to thank, first and foremost, we have to thank the mayor, Thomas Menino, because if it wasn't for the mayor, we wouldn't be doing these projects.
Right.
We have to thank the police commissioner. We have to thank
Davis.
Commissioner Davis. He appointed me for this position, and I just want to make sure that we do the department proud. We have to thank our superior officers, the Patrolmen's Association, Superior Officers Association. We have to thank Margaret Sullivan.
Got to thank Margaret.
We have to thank the people that are involved. We have to thank Joe Mario. We have to thank Capital Waste Management. They contributed to this. Stragers on the waterfront. Nicky Verano, he was outstanding. He supplied the food for us to do a coalition. Mike's Pastry in the North End supplied all the pastry for us. And all the officers that came out that day.
A ton of people.
A ton.
Made this thing happen. All right. When people walk by this plaque, what do you want them to think?
I want them just to remember. Remember what an officer does day in and day out. And, their lives are on the line each day. When they walk out that door, they don't know if they're coming home at night. I mean, that's what your intention is. When you leave your house at night and you do your tour of duty, you want to go home at night. Unfortunately, some of our officers, 71 of our officers, have not come home.
Bobby Anthony, great job. Keep up the great work. The ceremony couldn't have been any better. It was just, again, it just made me proud to be a member of the department and keep doing what you're doing. So, want to thank again tonight's guest, Bobby Anthony, department chronologist. We talked about police officer Andrew Cuneo, killed in the line of duty way back in 1921. There's a plaque now in the North End to helping us remember him. And it's great. So thanks for watching tonight's show. Until next time, have a great week and be safe, everybody. Good night.